Así que vamos con la primera de las mesas, de esas casi 30 mesas que decía el doctor Vergés, y también la bienvenida a todas las personas que nos sintonizan a través de nuestro canal YouTube a este 5º Congreso Internacional de Pacientes con Artrosis de OAFI. Ayer hubo un precongreso que también van a poder ver a través del canal YouTube de OAFI, un precongreso donde estuvo pues, la Florinate mundial de la artrosis, y una de las participantes es la que va a abrir hoy este congreso junto con nuestro presidente. Me refiero a la señora Nathalie Bere, porque hoy aquí está la Agencia Europea del Medicamento. Doctor Vergés, Miss Bere, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Ricardo. Well, also, I would, Ricardo, agradecerte que un año más estés aquí. Vamos a darle un aplauso a Ricardo Aparicio. Okay, then. Well, es un placer presentar a la doctora Nathalie Bere. Me voy a quitar la mascarita, la verdad que esta mascarita sigue siendo... La doctora Nathalie Bere ya hace varios años que cada año viene aquí a la OAFI. Nathalie, es una gran satisfacción que venga. Es la responsable, como comentaba en la introducción, en la presentación, de la Agencia Europea del Medicamento, que sabéis que se ha hecho muy conocida por todo el tema del COVID, por todo el tema a nivel dijéramos, más popular, ¿no? Por el tema de las aprobaciones de las vacunas, ¿no? Entonces, es una persona que siempre nos tiene mucha consideración a OAFI. De hecho, en algunas evaluaciones, fijaros, que a lo mejor ya lo comentará, en algunas evaluaciones que se han hecho de medicamentos, los pacientes de OAFI estamos allí presentes en la Agencia Europea, ayudando a evaluar fármacos. Esto es una revolución, que los pacientes podamos estar en las decisiones, en la toma de decisiones, que es muy importante de nuestra salud. Y bueno, lo va a hacer en inglés y tendréis traducción simultánea que podéis escuchar, la traducción en castellano, ¿vale? Well, Nathalie, it's, I mentioned before, a great pleasure. I say in Spanish that, you know, you are a friend from OAFI. You are a good friend. Yesterday, she makes a very nice conference in the pre-congress, and you know, she stayed with us. She left because she's very busy, and she left everything to be with us and to share the knowledge from the European Agency of Drugs. Okay? And later, if there are some questions from her speech, we can ask some questions if you want. When you want, thank you very much.
To get the...
Perfect. Yeah, you have here, sorry.
So good morning, everybody. It's a really pleasure to be here again. This is now several years that I'm coming back, and it's really a pleasure to be invited because, of course, it's important that we can share all the information about the European Medicines Agency. Now, today, this morning, I'm going to give you an overview of COVID-19 and how the agency is involved in the development of the vaccines and the medicines, and hopefully you will find this interesting. So, of course, we know since quite some time now that this is a new virus that was discovered. Back in March 2020, it was obviously declared a pandemic by the WHO. And since this time, it's had a devastating impact, not only on everybody's health and lives, but in society, economically, and everything. So it's something that we have to really combat together. Now, the EMA, so the European Medicine Agency, if you don't know, this is the agency that is responsible for assessing and monitoring and evaluating all of the medicines and vaccines across the whole of Europe. So any decision at the EMA is automatically applicable on all the EU member states. So it's one single authority for the whole of Europe. Now, what we've been doing in COVID-19 is trying to make sure that we can speed up all of our processes to get those vaccines and therapeutics, medicines to the public as soon as possible. At the same time, we've got to make sure that the other medicines still remain available, and we keep assessing those as well. We can't forget all the other medicines that people need as well. And we need to make sure at the same time that we provide up-to-date information for everybody who needs it. So when we develop a vaccine, you can see here that there are regulatory standards that must be met. And this slide is really just to show you that for COVID-19 vaccines, We have to meet the exact same standards as any other vaccine or medicine. We have to make sure that the safety, the quality, and the efficacy is to a standard that we have to meet. Now, of course, the development of a vaccine takes a very long time, many, many years. In the case of COVID, we've managed to make this much, much shorter. It's unprecedented how quickly we've managed to do it. But it starts off with the pharmaceutical companies, the developers, already looking at potential things that they could develop into a medicine. Then they have to do all the research and all the testing and the clinical trials. And when they have the data that they feel is good enough, they then bring it to the authority and ask for what we call a marketing authorization application for an authorization. And if they get a positive authorization from, for example, EMA, then automatically it's valid in all the EU member states. And then the company can start manufacturing, and then we start the phase of safety monitoring. So what do we look at when we are looking at a COVID-19 vaccine? Of course, we need to be looking that it is preventing systematic disease. We look at this by measuring how much is this happening in terms of people taking the vaccine, comparing that to people who are not taking the vaccine. So we look at those two and we see, is there a difference? And what we're looking for is that there is a difference. Other things that we also hope in a vaccine that we can only see much later is that the protection is long-lasting, that it's stopping those who are getting COVID but not getting symptoms. And also looking at whether or not it is preventing the transmission in the community. And of course, the key thing is that vaccines only are approved when we are sure that the benefits overall outweigh the risks. There's always going to be a balance that we have to weigh up. So in terms of the timeline, so this is where EMA and all the European experts got together. We know we needed to get this very, very quickly to the public. So you can see on the left, this is a standard development of a vaccine, and on the right was for COVID. So it was a much, much, much quicker development and authorization. One of the ways that we were able to do this was by doing what we call a rolling review. So normally when a pharmaceutical company is developing their medicine, they get all the data and then they submit it to the authority. But for COVID-19, we agreed that they could already send us the data as soon as they got it. So you can see they send it to us as soon as they get new data, before they submit the application. So this means that when they did submit the application, we had already done a lot of the assessment. So we just had to do that final bit, and we could do it much quicker, and then we could authorize the vaccines for the public. The way that we also did this was to get all the experts across Europe together with the EMA staff, with the other authorities, and the specialists in these areas together. And they meet at the EMA at least twice a week, and we developed this, what we call a task force, a COVID-19 task force. And importantly here, you can see patient representatives are also in the task force, because it's important to have the scientific elements, but we need to make sure we also have the views of patients or potential patients. What do they feel about it? What are they willing to accept? So I've explained how we develop the vaccines and medicines. Now just to explain a little bit, something very important about the safety monitoring. Why do we monitor the safety of medicines? Well, when the pharmaceutical companies are developing their medicine, they get a certain amount of data. They do the clinical trials, but there's only a certain amount of patients in those trials. Once the medicine or the vaccine is approved, then it will go out to the public. Many, many, many more people will be taking it in many more countries. So of course, we will be getting new information. And that's what we need to monitor this information and check. Is it what we expect? Is it better? Are there any things that were unexpected? And if it's unexpected, why? Then we need to assess why, and we maybe need to see if we need to make any changes. So it's about monitoring all the data and making actions if we need to make actions. How do we do this monitoring? You can imagine, I mean, Europe is a huge place. How do we manage to compile and harmonize all of this information? Well, it's a very robust system. And it's called Pharmacovigilance. And here you can see that it's like a circle. So we collect all of the data. We get it from different sources. I'll explain in a moment. We are continually reviewing and assessing that data. We decide, do we need to make an action? If we do, we communicate that, and then we continue to monitor. So like a circle. And the people that are involved are obviously the regulatory agencies, the marketing authorization holders, the pharmaceutical companies, the national healthcare systems, but also healthcare professionals and patients. Everybody has a part to play in this system. This slide is really just to show you as well that we're not only monitoring the safety when the product is authorized. We do monitor it. Even the early testing involves safety testing. Even before it goes first time for a patient, there's a lot of safety testing that's gone on. Sorry. So just in a kind of nutshell, the reason we do the safety monitoring is to detect anything that is unexpected. We know there are some side effects, but are there side effects that we didn't know about? Or are the side effects higher than we expected? If they are, that triggers an assessment, and then we see, do we need to do something? Do we need to restrict how the medicine is used or change anything else to that medicine? It's the pharmaceutical companies who are also obliged to do follow-up safety studies. They have to perform this in the patients in Europe who are taking the vaccines. And also to say that we do share information even beyond Europe. We have interactions with the other authorities across the world, and we all share information as well, because it's important that we understand maybe they have different information, and then we would need to know why. This is really important for you to understand that you as a patient can also report a side effect. And we rely on you to report anything that you think has happened when you took the vaccine that had an effect on you. So you can either just go to your healthcare professional, or you can go to the pharmacy, or you can write a report yourself explaining about this side effect that you think you had. All of these reports then get collected in one big European database called 𝘊𝘠𝑉igilance, and that's how we monitor the data together with the company doing the follow-up study. So really do please report a side effect or share this with your family. We need your help in this. This is just to summarize the milestones of COVID-19 and the development. So you can see since March of 2020 when it started, we've had accelerated development and evaluation procedures put into place, and back in December of 2020 we had the first vaccines which were authorized, and we are continuing to look at evaluation of other vaccines and also medicines. So here you can see the 4 vaccines that are currently approved in Europe, so they are valid throughout Europe. We have 2 mRNA vaccines, which are called Comirnaty and Spikevax, which used to be called Moderna, but they've changed the name. And we have the style of the viral vector, which is called Vaxzevria and Janssen. So you could have gotten either of these. This slide is just showing you, it's a bit of the technical names, but it's just to show you these are the medicines that are to treat COVID, because it's not only about the vaccinations and rolling those out, but it's also about those patients who are suffering from COVID. We need to try and find medicines to treat them as best as we can. So you can see on the left some of the ones that we're looking at under the rolling review. Some of these, so the 4, have submitted already an application for marketing authorization. So we hope to approve those soon and they can be used. And there is one already available for use called remdesivir. But we need to have those other ones as a complementary so that the treating physicians can choose between different medicines to help you. I've taken this slide from ECDC, which is the European Centre for Disease Control. It's a great source of information to know in terms of the spread of COVID, the uptake of the vaccines, and how is that going across Europe, and in fact even across the world. So here you can see how it's increasing the uptake of the vaccine. And you can see at the top here, the uptake of at least 1 dose among adults in Europe is now at 80%. And this is the way that we will combat COVID-19. So just to complement, of course, all of this that is going on perhaps behind the scenes and you're not aware, it's important for us to share all of this information with the public. We need to make sure that you know where to find the information, that the information is written in a language that is understandable as well. So we do this in many different ways. We have information published on our website, written in lay language, like question and answer, with pictures and visuals to show you. We publish all of the minutes of our meetings and the agendas and everything, all of the medicines under review or rolling review, all of the product information when it is authorized. We translate it in all of the member state languages, and that is also available and published. And then we have regular updates as well in different ways. We answer questions also from the public. We hold press releases. We do public meetings. We have a public meeting coming up in November where it's broadcast live, and anybody can just click on the link and watch that, and we will explain all about where we are at the moment, the latest information, and of course sharing information across all of the different medicines authorities and experts and everything, and the media as well, and social media. As many ways as we can, we've been really trying to enhance it. We've been talking to patients and healthcare professionals. We got together with a group of patients who had experienced COVID as well, also to understand from them what they wanted, what they had experienced. We work obviously with the European Commission and the wider public as well. This is our website. You can go and look on there. Any information is on there. And I mentioned we have a public meeting on the 25th of November. It should start about 1 o'clock. If you're interested, go to our website. You can click on the link and watch it. It will be broadcast live. They are also published afterwards if you don't have time to watch it. So you can also watch the 3 other public meetings that we had. The first one is very interesting because it gives you very detailed information how you develop a vaccine and a medicine. I'm almost at the end, but here just to say, I think it's really interesting that since we've had to put in place all of these new procedures and everything for COVID-19, we've now made a thought, and the Commission is expanding the mandate of the European Medicine Agency so that we can be really ready whenever there is another public crisis. So we have this, I mentioned the task force that we set up for COVID. This is now going to be a permanent task force, and it will be there ready for any other public health issues or crisis that might happen. So we have this ability to do it, and we also need to look at other things like, are there shortages of other medicines when there is a crisis? These kind of things. So it's good to see that we are learning from the lessons that we have learned through COVID-19 and trying to make sure that we can improve moving forward. So I would just conclude to say that, of course, vaccines are a key pillar in combating serious illnesses and, of course, COVID-19. Of course, it's not 100% safe. No medicine that you take is ever 100% safe. There will always be a very small amount of risk, but we have to weigh this up with the overall benefit that there is. And of course, it goes without saying that using face masks, hand hygiene, physical distance when it's needed is going to make a big, big difference as well as the vaccine. So thank you very much.
We can sit together.
Okay.
It was perfect. Well, excellent presentation.
Thank you.
You know, it's incredible the work that the European Agency of Drug he realized in the last month about COVID, no? And also, in Spain, the same, the national, you know, EMA, the EMS, the Spanish Agency of Drug works very well. You know, the EMS, it's considered, I think, that between the 3 or 4 most, you know, good agents of drugs, no? But, you know, and I think it's very important to know the procedure, that it was so faster, because, you know, imagine the situation, no, that we have, no, that last year, no, everybody was closed. It was a real problem, very important health problem, and, you know, and EMA, he did a lot of work faster, you know, and also it's another thing that sometimes we criticize the pharmaceutical companies, no, but, you know, they in the case of Pfizer, for example, he performed a vaccine in 9 months. I mean, it's 10 months. No? That's incredible. I mean, in the life of clinical pharmacology, to make a vaccine in 9 months, it's I think that this is very
Never before.
Never before, no. And also another issue that I see is this is very important for patients, no, because sometimes there are some people that they don't like to take the vaccine, no. That is a big mistake. We recommend to take the vaccine. But another issue that you explained very well is about the safety. I mean, the work that the European Agency is doing about safety, that means they can control all the side effects of the vaccine. I mean, this is a very important issue, no? Because to know exactly if there are some side effects, which kind of people they have these side effects, no? And I think this is, you know, a tremendous work, and we are happy, no, that to have an European Agency of Drugs like this, no, or the Spanish Agency of Drugs, no?
It's very good that we can all work together. I think that is the beauty of having a European Union, is that all the medicines agencies work together with the EMA. You know, it's not just EMA, but every health authority sends their experts to EMA, and we all work together, and it's that combined effort. And of course, with the developers working super, super fast, we were giving them advice as well on their development, what exactly would be needed. And again, on the safety, it's about all working together to make sure that we can have the information and act quickly. It's about acting quickly.
And also, it may concern, I don't know, but speaking about, because you make an excellent presentation and on time, huh? We have some, and you know, and about the next steps. What do you feel in your feeling? How will be the next vaccines, or do you have some idea, or you have some comments, or?
I mean, there is still a lot of things under development. There are new vaccines coming. I think you saw as well, there is quite a lot of medicines now coming for the treatment of COVID.
Exactly.
I think now that we are getting more familiar with the disease and how it's working and what treatments work best for it, we are now having more medicines, because even if, you know, everybody is vaccinated, there are going to be some people who will still get COVID-19. And so we need to have medicines to treat those people and the vulnerable people. Some people can't take a vaccination as well. So I think that's what's going to be coming up. Hopefully by the end of the year, we will have authorized a few of the medicines for treatment, which then give the physician a choice of treatments. Perfect. Because it's not the one that is best for everybody. We need to see.
This is a good news. I mean, there will have new treatments available. You know, the vaccines are good, and it's very important to avoid the problem, but also treatments that can, you know, kill the virus. No? That's very important. Huh? No, I am happy, and you speak about the pharmacovigilance, and also, please, if there are somebody that don't put the vaccine, it's very important to put the vaccine. And in fact, we can say today we are here because it was the vaccine there, because if not, it will be very difficult, no? Will be the pandemic will be higher. I mean, this is a reflection that we must think about that, no? And another question is that what, for example, the problem of the COVID can interact with other clinical trials. In our case, clinical trials that doing by you know, in the field of osteoarthritis or in the field of osteoporosis. It was because all the efforts it was there, no, working by the COVID, because it was an emergency issue, no. Yeah. What do you think? There are some influence about that?
I think inevitably there has been some influence. I mean, I think especially at the beginning, everybody was focusing on developing COVID, you know, drugs, vaccines. So I think inevitably there was a bit of a, you know, a pooling of resources. I wouldn't say that any of the, at EMA, none of the ongoing applications for another medicine was slowed or stopped, but we had to quickly call upon other people to come and work on COVID. So it meant people had to work longer hours, people had to work, you know, cancel holidays, they had to work extra during this sort of key period of last year. Now it's got better. I think the bigger impact has been in the community. I think that because the hospitals have been full, because all the, you know, the treatments have not been able to take place. So now in many countries there is a long waiting list of people who haven't been able to receive treatment for other conditions. And that's the problem now, to catch up with that in terms of, you know, man resources, financial resources, and that I think that is the challenge now in Europe. But that's more at the community level. You know, to do that.
Perfect. And another question, and later if there are some questions, another question is, as you are responsible for all the engagement of patients, what do you think the patients, how can work and to help to EMA, and how is doing this activity? And, you know, the patients, each time we are more implicated in the evaluation of drugs, no? It's a new area, no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at EMA, and this is going beyond COVID, we involve patients in all of the different medicines that we are evaluating. We always make sure that we get their opinions and their views. And this can be even before a medicine is coming to EMA, because the companies, the pharmaceutical companies, they can ask EMA for advice. So they are thinking, okay, we're going to do a trial, we're going to include these patients, this is what we're going to measure, etc. And so they will come and ask us advice, and we have a meeting. We bring in a patient as well, so that when we give the advice to the company, we have consulted with a patient or two as well to say, you know, do you agree this advice sounds correct to you? I mean, it can be things like the design of the trial. Would you be willing, if you have nothing else as options, would you be willing maybe to go twice a week to a hospital which is, you know, 100 kilometers away? Is that feasible for you or not? Or do you think we are measuring the right things? I mean, even in like if we just look at osteoarthritis or osteoporosis, for example, are we measuring? Sometimes they're very key, measuring always the hip movements, the walking. Patients have told us upper body is equally important. Measure my wrist movements, things like that, because that for me on a day-to-day basis is as important as walking, and just things like that that are very important to have for us. Then when we evaluate the medicine, there's different ways that patients get involved as well. They might come to a meeting, or they might just review the document that we prepared, the package leaflet, to make sure that it's written in a language for patients as well, so they do that for us. And even in the safety part as well, if there is a trigger, again, and we do a procedure, we bring patients in as well. And we have a platform of patient organizations, because I'm just so impressed by patient organizations like OAFI, but many others who do so much work to support the patient organizations. And so we have this platform called the Patients Working Party, and we meet 4 times a year, and we consult with them so much, and they come and share all of these different things with us. And they have the communication with the whole community in Europe. So that's why, I mean, as EMA, we don't have contact with every, you know, patient. We have a database of 500 patients, but it's the organizations like yours who have a much bigger network, who support the patients one-to-one and this kind of thing. So through the organizations and through that, we then all, again, get together and work together.
Thank you, Noah. I can tell you that she's doing a very tremendous work, because I know her work very well, and you are doing a tremendous work in the patient's engagement, and I think you are doing very well. And I think that, you know, in our experience, that to have the voice there, to participate, you know, I think it's very important. And it changed for some years ago, that it was not the same. I mean, the voice of the patient is very important, and OAFI, you know very well that we are putting the patient in all of the steps, even in the ideas from research. Some of you, sometimes you have ideas to have new drugs or to have new products, you know, and sometimes it's very important to take the idea at the beginning. No, I put an anecdote that, for example, we make a survey. For example, it's an anecdote, no, but in osteoarthritis, patients like the pill or the capsules blue. They don't like other color. That means that, for example, but anybody before asked to the patients, what kind of color do you like the pill? That, for example, it seems a stupid issue, but it's not stupid, because they prefer a blue pill than other color. This is one small thing, no? But I think it's very important, no?
Maybe they take it better, maybe they can see it better. It's really important.
Yes.
And OAFI as well, I have to say, provided us with patient. Earlier this year, the EMA was evaluating a medicine for OA, for pain, and we were having a discussion, and we asked for a patient, and you gave us a very great patient who participated, and so you see it does work.
This is one program that we have in OAFI, is that the patients, and yesterday we spoke about that, no? I think it's very interesting, because it was the discussion about that I think we are mandatory that OAFI, you know, give patients to EMA, to the Spanish Agency of Drug or the FDA, you know, because I think it's very important, no? And also for us, we teach to our patients how can manage this, no, in the good way, no, not interfere, no, and also English is important, no, because in order that to become in the panel of experts from EMA, no, and yesterday was a question interesting that said, well, maybe could we have some translation, no, because maybe there are good patients, you know, that they don't speak English, but they can do a lot of things that can improve the evaluation of the dossier, no? I mean, that means I am very happy, because they are changing the rules, no? A lot, huh?
Yeah.
Well, yes, some questions. If there are the microphones here, I mean, if some people can ask questions, please go ahead. We are in family, I mean, we can ask the questions or something that you like to... Pardon? No sé què dius. Ah, sí, perdó. Sí, bueno, però es fa la traducció, No? No es fer la traducció. Bueno, així no s'ha fet la traducció de tot el que he dit? No? Sí? Bueno, the translation. Bueno, si queréis hacer alguna pregunta, podéis coger los micrófonos y podéis preguntar sin ningún problema.
Quiero aprovechar todas las personas que quieran tener una traducción del inglés. Abajo en la entrada hay los traductores, los auriculares como vemos aquí delante, para poder escucharlo perfectamente en inglés o en castellano.
Pues comentábamos con Disculpar, que me pensaba que tenías los traductores. Bueno, están abajo los que queráis coger las mesas de Disculpar, las mesas en inglés hay traducción en castellano. Lo que comentábamos con la doctora, con Nathalie Bere, es que cada vez más la agencia europea y la agencia española, pues los pacientes cada vez participamos más en los procesos de evaluación, que esto hace unos años era muy difícil, ¿no? Entonces los pacientes participan mucho, tienen su representación, tienen su voz. En este caso, porque comentaba Nathalie, pues que hace poco hubo una evaluación de un medicamento por la Agencia Europea en artrosis y pues nos pidieron a 2 pacientes, dijéramos, de OAFI que podían ir a la evaluación y fueron allí, ¿no? Entonces comentábamos que para nosotros, para la OAFI, formamos a muchos pacientes en el sentido técnico, no en el sentido, porque el paciente tiene que tener su opinión, solo faltaría, ¿no? Y evidentemente pues estábamos también hablando ayer en la reunión que tuvimos, porque también ayer, como os comentaba al principio, estaba Nathalie Bere como responsable de la EMA, había el responsable de la Agencia Española del Medicamento, 𝘫𝘕, que además es una persona que siempre colabora con OAFI, que es un buen reumatólogo además, y después había la responsable de la FDA con la Arthritis Foundation, ¿no? Y comentábamos de que es muy importante también que se sepa inglés para poder participar, pero ahí también comentábamos que a lo mejor el hecho de no saber inglés podíamos influir negativamente porque había quizás pacientes que tengan mucha experiencia y que tengan una opinión y simplemente por el hecho de no hablar inglés se descarte. Todo lo que hablábamos también de que se hagan traducciones, es decir, no necesariamente una persona que vaya a la Agencia Europea a evaluar un posible nuevo fármaco que se apruebe, pues tenga que saber inglés. No sé si es inglés mejor, pero podemos perder a veces allí cosas que realmente, opiniones que no sean válidos a la hora de evaluar. Entonces hablaba de que, bueno, que se podía hacer una traducción, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, os comentaba también pues, que al principio que la Agencia Europea ha hecho un gran trabajo en el tema también le pregunta del tema del COVID y le preguntaba si también, como se ha volcado, las agencias han tenido que volcar para la aprobación rápida de estas vacunas, pues si habían quedado, dijéramos, otras áreas de aprobación de medicamentos descuidadas, ¿no? Por decirlo de alguna forma, ¿no? Esto era la pregunta que le hacía a Nathalie. Y concretamente me refería a que había quedado descuidado el tema de la artrosis y la osteoporosis, ¿no? Dicen que, lógicamente, claro, se ha tenido que volcar esto, pero que, bueno, que se está recuperando y que las evaluaciones se están haciendo, ¿no? Yo creo que podemos decir que tenemos una muy buena agencia europea del medicamento, podemos estar contentos en Europa y desde luego comentar que la agencia española ha hecho un papel muy importante, me consta. Y después voy a comentar también otro tema, porque también ha habido durante la pandemia, lo habréis visto, muchas falsas noticias, lo que llaman fake news. O sea, gente que decía, oye, mira, que esto me va bien para esto y para otro, ¿no? A veces por buena fe o a veces por intereses, dijéramos, espurios, ¿no? Es decir, que gente pues, que intentaba, ¿no? Y también ha hecho un trabajo. I am saying that in the time of the vaccine and the problem of COVID, it was a lot of, in the journals, that possible new drugs that could be worse in COVID, no? And I think the fake news, we can say, no? That without any kind of clinical data or from scientific point, no? And this is another work that you done, no? To check if this is correct or not, and to advise, you know, I remember that each week there was people from the EMA advising that yes or not, no? Yeah. This is take a lot of time, no? Yeah. Sí, sí. Bueno, pues yo creo que no sé si no hay nadie, no hay ninguna valiente o qué. ¿O valiente queréis preguntar? Claude, tu veux faire quelques questions o no, Claude? No? Ça va? Okay. Okay, then we finish on time. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Thank you.
You are. It is your house,
Yeah.
And you are the family from OAFI. And I appreciate your time yesterday and today, and thank you, because you did a very good explanation, very clear, and we are very happy and relaxed that we have a good European agency, and you have the voice of us in the European Agency of Drugs. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.